Hello, everybody, and welcome to Amateur Cast, where I get you and your replays to be casted for my entertainment and hopefully to help you improve a little bit as well. I'm your host, ZookaMan, and we're going to be going into a TVZ. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our players. In the top left-hand side of the map, Terraform Ladder Edition, we have Haste from Clan 1SA. He's going to be a red Terran for this game, and his opponent on the opposite side of the map. In the blue, playing Zerg, having a pretty nice logo there from Guns N' Roses, I believe, actually, from the CTL. We have Earth spawning in as the blue Zerg. I believe I already said that, but that's alright. I lose my train of thought quite frequently sometimes. I think I even did it there. But what's going on? What's going on in the matchup? What's basically just up, as the kids say these days? Well, in the matchup in particular, you're going to be seeing a lot of Bangling Ling Muta compositions, or even to a certain extent you would see sometimes Roach Hydra. That's more popular in the lower leagues. This is right around the Masters, I believe. It's either Diamond or Masters. So we'll be interested to see what the top cutting edge strategies are these days, because for those of you who don't know, I'm just getting back into casting. It's been a couple months since I've had the opportunity to do too much of anything, so my grasp on the meta needs a little bit of work. Hopefully that, combined with the fact that I'm a bit rusty and things are just not quite as solid as they used to be, hopefully doesn't inhibit the general length of the cast in itself. So, you know, it is what it is. Give me a little bit of slack. We're going to have a natural coming up first here from Earth, which is not too far out of the ordinary. Probably going to be seeing a later pool. Feeling pretty comfortable right now in the matchup. And our Terran player, of course, is going to be going up onto his orbital command. No gas yet, but the barracks the barracks is finished up, so there's no gas yet, which is kind of strange. This makes me think we're probably going to be seeing a couple of Marines shoved out of the barracks, and then probably going to be seeing an early expand. Looks like the SEV is already poised in order to drop that down. There we go. Yep, early command center is going to be on the plate from Haste. So neither one of these players looking like they want to do anything too aggressive here in the early game. Both looking to macro up at the very least a little bit. Speaking a little bit about this map, it's a fairly decent one for macroing. Of course, the third base is really, no matter which way you go, is going to be a little bit awkward to defend. The third base down here is going to be a little bit closer to your natural, but it still has this really awkward turnaround where you have to go around here and then kind of swing down here over here to be able to get the expansion. But if you go on the other way, then you have this entire space back here that Zerglings can get by, and even this fourth base is even more open. And especially if your opponent's going to expand northern, it's kind of up there and out of the way. So hopefully we'll be seeing some 3-base strategies as opposed to seeing really late. Oh, no, I am going to be proven completely wrong as we see a bunker drop down here from Haste outside of the natural. I don't believe that we have vision from that yet for Earth. Yes, he does from this Overlord, I believe. So he does have vision of this. He does know that this is going on. He's going to be having a little bit of a delayed reaction. Spine Crawler and then a couple of maybe even just Queens should be able to defend against this if it's one bunker. If we see any more than that, it might need to produce a couple of Lings, but I don't see this being a really difficult problem to hold. We do have Factory coming up back home here from Haste, who is probably going to be going up onto Hellions, because Hellions and Hellbats both are just really good in the matchup, because most of Zerg's army is biological, and fire generally pretty good against things that are biological. Haste is going to have a full-on bunker here. He's not going to want to build any more, it looks like, so this is just going to kind of hang out here. If the Zerg army decides to swing out a little bit, it gets a little bit too close to it, then yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a problem, but it's not close enough that it's going to get near Harvesters or it's going to kill Queens, and the Spine Crawler is just going to be able to continue to move up, and that should be taken care of fairly shortly here. Earth keeping his cool, not building a whole bunch of units at the immediate side of that, and basically just letting things happen. We have 4 geysers coming up. They're going to get saturated, so we're probably going to be seeing things like Roaches, Hydralisks in the nearest future. We're going to be seeing gas units. Wouldn't be opposed to seeing a third base drop down. to support that a little bit further. One queen is about to go down, but I think there are enough energy for transfusions at this point. So it is what it is. Salvage is going to go off on the bunker, and I believe all the Marines are going to be able to get away. Yes, they are. So not really going to be that much of a deficit here from Haste. He does have a couple of Hellions moving out across the map now to do a little bit more pressure. Meanwhile, Haste is going to be, or excuse me, Earth is going to be going for his Metabolic Boost, which is his Zergling Speed, which is something you pretty much want to get all the time as a Zerg player. It's like getting Stim for Bio or Warp Gate Tech for Protoss. It's just one of those things that you want to get. We are going to be seeing a layer come down along with the Rotorn, which is going to be pretty much helpful for the tech. Going to be pretty decent. They're going to getting off a couple of tumors up here so that he can start getting his creep spread down. We do have a double upgrades going to be coming out as well. Having a lot of trouble speaking. Apologize for that. It's a little bit out of practice, so I can't be as fast as I usually am. We're going to be seeing one engineering bay coming down here from Haste, so this could be for turrets. It could also possibly be for upgrades later on. We'll have to kind of keep an eye on that. There is a Zergling that is going to die rather quickly to those Hellions who are kind of patrolling around, seeing what the Zerg army is up to. There is no third base looking like it's going to be dropped down anytime soon here from Earth. So maybe we're going to be seeing something of a 2-base roach push, which might be interesting to see. A couple of those tanks are on their way back home from Haste to be able to defend this. I believe this is probably going to be ending up a more mech style of play as we see additional factories dropped down. There aren't really many barracks in the main base. That's probably not too far off of the original plan. We do have a couple of tech labs onto these two, which of course are going to be what's producing the tanks. So mech is going to be on the chopping block here for Haste against Earth's most, looks like basically roaches right now, which isn't a bad thing. Roaches are a good unit and they can do a lot of things early on, especially against Hellions, because roaches are kind of that counter to them. And he's going to be getting various upgrades along with all the other stuff that he's getting right now, called Premiumized Carapace and Ventral Sacs for Overlord Speed, as well as the ability to turn Overlords into a dropship. How that even happens, that's beyond my capabilities. We're going to be seeing one armory on its way. Probably going to see another one soonish so that we can continue to get upgrades twice at a time. So that, you know, quicker upgrades are always good. The third base is going to be coming down rather late here from Earth, but he did have to deal with a couple of pressures, and he seems to be playing it fairly safe right now. Has quite a clump of roaches that probably will want to be moving out across the map fairly shortly here as I kind of reposition and start moving up towards the center of the map. Creep spread is starting to get pretty decent right now. There are quite a few tumors on the map right now, and he has his bases connected, which is always a good thing, so that he can always fall back and help out with those slower units such as roaches should the need arise. Speaking of which, we do have the Gladiator Constitution, which means that roach speed is up, which helps out a little bit with that. We do have the Spire coming down as well, which means we could be seeing Mutas. We could be seeing Vipers. I actually think Vipers just need Hive. Could be seeing Corruptors. There's a lot of things that are coming out of this. I think Mutas are what's... Are we gonna... I think we're gonna be seeing... roach drops. That would be very nice to see. I always love seeing drop play coming up from Zerg players because I just think it's absolutely fantastic. Although most people think it's kind of a weird thing to try to do. It looks like he's going to go straight for the main base. There is nothing to see this right now. No vision in that area at all. So this is going to kind of catch Haste off guard. I think what actually might be cool to have with a kind of roach drop strategy is to go for the tunneling claws, and then you can kind of just be annoying with all your roaches. That being said, a lot of tech is under fire here from Haste, who is going to lose at least one factory here. A couple of these tanks are being pulled back. There are a couple of Hellbats as well, but generally Hellbats are not really what you want against roaches, and I think right now the roaches are really trying to get the tech damage and the economic damage done more than they're really trying to beat this composition. But really, they can still kind of do that. They were able to kill quite a few tanks, all of those Hellbats, A couple of Widow Mines are going to be coming out to help defend against this, but he did lose a couple of factories. He lost one add-on on this factory, so it's just going to be minorly annoying for him to have to deal with. 13 Mutalisks are on their way. We'll probably be going up towards that main base for a follow-up attack. He needs to try to get these overlords out of here so you don't die and make him get supply block. That would be an unfortunate situation as the Widow Mines kind of position themselves under that giant flock. Oh no, get out of there. No, not the overlords. He's going to be splitting them up fairly well, so the damage of the AoE isn't going to be able to do quite as much. We're going to be seeing a fourth base up here at the gold base location, which is going to be fairly good for the Zerg if he can be able to hold that. 13 drones are on their way. We start to see that third and fourth base start to be saturated. We have a couple of CCs coming out at the third base, which will probably be taken for expansion. The Mutalisks are going to be going up over the tank army, but right now there really isn't much in terms of anti-air. We do have one Thor on the way. We of course have a handful of Widow Mines as well, which can help defend this. About 10 Widow Mines are done, so not as much damage can be done here with the Mutalisks. But at this point, every little bit is done, especially with taking out those slide deals. Not only is it going to supply block him, it's also going to stop the walling capabilities. He needs to be careful with the Widow Mines because those could blow up and take out an entire flock of Mutas if he's not careful. Fourth base is going to be finishing up right about now. Gold base is going to be starting to be saturated there. +1 coming up for those flyers, as well as that +1 for the melee attacks. Getting upgrades is pretty good for him right now. Not really much in the terms of upgrades for Haste. He just has +1/+1. +2, +2 is not coming out, but it might be because he doesn't really have the resources. Well, he does have the resources, so I'm not sure exactly why he's delaying the upgrades. Maybe he's feeling a little bit precarious and wanting to get a couple of extra Thors, a couple of extra Widow Mines out, so that we don't have to worry about that kind of stuff too much. Fourth base, fifth base is on its way now. So that'll be interesting. We'll have an extra little bit of income. Needs to be a little bit careful about oversaturating, so that you don't pretty much stop the army from being able to be as effective as it possibly can. We are going to be seeing that command center going to be pretty easily taken down. It's going to get down to the red. It might get repaired quick enough. Lots and lots of units are on the map right now. Lings are going to be joining that up, but I'm kind of interested to see what the end game plan from Earth is. Mutalisks are a good unit, and they can do a lot of pressure at your opponent's natural expansion, his main base, even his third base, if he doesn't have the proper precautions, such as turrets, and able to take care of that. But speaking of turrets, we're going to be seeing a Ghost Academy, which is a little bit of an interesting idea from Haste. That might be for nukes, which is interesting. You don't normally see the Ghost Academy in this matchup. I can't think of anything else besides nukes. Maybe he's getting the ghosts for, like if there were infestors added into his army. Maybe so he could just have that little bit of extra. We're going to be 6th base drop down here from Earth. Going to be able to keep up very, very nicely on his expansions. Going to be able to snipe down this command center as well, and every little bit stopping the opponent from being able to do what he wants to. Always a good thing in StarCraft. You just generally don't want your opponent to do things that they want to do, because then that makes them feel comfortable. We're seeing Hive Tech come on down. I think that's the Hive. Yeah, that's a Hive down here at the bottom location, the southernmost location. Crew spread is pretty good. Needs to work a little bit more on it, especially to connect up here to the northern base, but that's coming along pretty nicely. I've definitely seen a lot of low-level games where they haven't even connected bases, so this is pretty decent crew spread. Just needs to keep on top of it. Haste going to be on mostly Thors and tanks right now, which is it's not that bad of a decision. A couple of Widow Mines, of course, going to be sprinkled into there as he tries to, I believe that's a 4th base. Yep, he's going to try to take the 4th at the gold base. We do have an Ultros Cavern as well as Vipers coming out on the field right now, so we're going to be seeing lots and lots of tech here from Earth. But for the meantime, he needs to try to kind of thin out his numbers right now. He has a lot of units, and here come a couple of Widow Mines to do just exactly that. And engaging headfirst into a turret, which I suppose that this number of Mutalisks isn't going to be that big of a deal. Killing off the other one, might be able to snipe out the Ghost Academy as well, which really hasn't done anything, so I'm not sure exactly what his whole plan was for that any earlier than now, but my best guess is that he's trying to get Ghost for later on in the game. There is one here. another one coming out. So I'm kind of interested to see what he's going to do with these. Maybe nukes. I don't really think that that's as likely as just having them around to deal with spellcasters such as Vipers, which is a pretty valid kind of strategy to have going on. We have the Chitinous Plating coming out as well as that Adrenal Glands. Basically just getting every upgrade that he possibly can to help keep his minerals low. Even though that's kind of getting to be a little bit difficult at this point in the game. There's a couple of Widowmines going to be killing off those Zerglings who are trying to get a bit of damage done here, but ultimately not able to accomplish all that much. A couple of scans are going to be going around as he takes his 5th base, and Zerg player is going to get a couple of Ultras with this. Once those pop, it might be a good idea to move out across the map and see what he can do. Might be good to start thinning out his Zergling numbers as he sees those Ultras enter the field. And there really aren't any Banglies here either to make them more effective, so moving away from Zerglings might be a valid decision at this point in the game. Looks like Haste is wanting to move out. He is maxed out right now, so he's going to try to kind of lay out a death siege. This base is going to be under a little bit of fire. Those tanks and those Widowmines are going to be able to fire into the mineral line from behind it, and even really the doors. And that's kind of one of the weird things I don't like about this map, is that this base, and even most of the bases that are on the map further from this kind of line, from like these locations here, it's a lot more difficult to defend because you have tanks, Thors, or pretty much any unit that you can have that can just kind of sort of camp out here and fire onto the mineral line without too much of a problem. The Zerg player is going to kind of not do too much. He's going to lose his base. Looks like he's probably going to try to position himself a little bit here so that he can be prepared for a fight. Haste deciding that the best course of action is to start to move up. Needs to be careful with this because, as you all know, mech armies are very immobile and they are very subject to being pulled apart on transit to any location. So hopefully he's a little bit more careful with these, make sure that the tanks are sieged up in case we see some sort of fight come in here. Ghost Academy is going to be remade. There is a Widowmine here to help stop this whole expanding business, because we don't need any of those. We're seeing the Terror Army move on in, clearing up this creep spread, which is a very nice idea. Stopping the spread of the Zerg as much as he possibly can, but not looking to take a direct engagement. Speaking of direct engagement, looks like the Zerg player is wanting to situate himself in a position to move on in. The tanks are sieged up at this point, so he needs to lead in with the Ultralisks. A couple of ghosts are going to be laying in the front. I think this is to try to catch out the Vipers, maybe to catch out... that's probably the only thing I can think of. Maybe he's going to snipe a couple of the Mutas or something. Or maybe he'll snipe the Overseers, possibly. We do see Greater Spire coming up, so we can be seeing Broodlords fairly shortly here. Haste is going to be falling on back, and ironically, not going to be too hasty in his actions in this game. Going to play it very nice and slow and try to look for his kind of opening, for lack of a better word. And yes, I know that Haste was a pretty bad joke indeed. Full of them though, folks. We're going to be seeing this northernmost base taken out. It's about it's about 12 o'clock right about there. And Haste is going to move on, try to take out those smaller bases, take out bases that aren't as heavily fortified. Here come the Widowmines to burrow down, trying to get a couple of shots off onto those mutalisks, excuse me, onto those drones. Speaking of which, we're going to be having a major engagement coming in here, leading on in with the Ultralisks. A couple of good lightning clouds are going to make those Thors less effective against the mutalisks, but there are going to be a lot of splash damage coming up onto the mutalisks. But the Ultras are going to also be able to take out quite a bit on the ground. I think that he has this. Haste is going to lose quite a bit of his army there, which is a little bit unfortunate. Normally, you don't want to lose your entire army as a mech player because it's extremely hard to be able to re-max. And now, Earth going to be having a little bit of a free reign in order to move forward and get some damage done. Definitely going to be trying to move forward and take that advantage, which is always a good thing. You never ever want your opponent to lose an army and not take some damage for it. because that's something that is definitely going to make them have a better opportunity to come back into the game. And generally, you don't want that when you're trying to win the game in the ladder game, especially. So we already lifted off on the CCs, but there are enough mutalisks here that should be able to just, they just plain take care of them. Mutalisks are going to be kind of counteracted with a couple of good Widow Mines and a couple of Vikings. There we go, this is what I'm looking for. Ultras are going to be having free reign, though, as they move on forward. Oh goodness, there is a storm in my area. I forgot that that was supposed to come on tonight, so there might be a little bit of thunder in the last couple minutes of this game, guys. Hopefully it doesn't cause too much of a problem as far as audio quality is concerned, as I noticed that they probably is not going to bleed through all that much. Hopefully not. We're going to be seeing a couple more Thors added on here. There are a couple of Corruptors added in. I'm assuming those are to help out against the Vikings, but there aren't really that many in number to be worried about it. Maybe he's preparing for a nice Broodlord count off of those. That might be something that we see here. Broodlord Ultralisk, pretty handy, as long as he avoids those Widow Mines and make sure that the Thors can't get the splash damage off. A couple of good Blinding Clouds could help to remedy that if that is his decision. Base is going to be coming up here. We're just basically seeing both of our players start to go up a little bit on a macro. Spree, as we see both of our players start to macro up their army as well. And basically we're just going to be seeing both players take a little bit of time to get back into all the stuff that they need to do. Here come the Broodlords coming out right about now. They're all going to be actually canceled. I think he wanted to get only a smaller number of them so that he could keep a couple of Corruptors free in case there are a large number of Vikings that get macroed out from this. But Thors are still going to be out, which will be semi-helpful. Of course, Broodlings are going to make it a lot harder for them to be able to do so, but they're still going to be able to get a couple of splash damage attacks on the Broodlords, and, well, hopefully that's not a big deal. I mean, honestly, adding a couple of Vipers to Blinding Clouds might be a good idea for that, but right now it doesn't look like he's in too bad of a position either way, and I don't think he absolutely needs them, but that would be an interesting add-on to this, just to make it a little bit more effective. Vikings are coming out in Storm as they try to take advantage here over the air army, but in the meantime we have a large number of Ultras on the ground that will be able to kind of take that ground army aspect. All the Corruptors are going to be kind of whittled away at this point. The Ultras are going to be able to get quite a bit of surface area up onto the bases. There's a mass repair there, which will make it significantly harder for Earth to be able to push through here. And now there isn't much air support right now, and the Vikings are just going to basically be able to clean up the last little bits of Earth's army. Meanwhile, we have 120 Zerglings coming out at this point, which is an interesting idea, considering that we're probably going to see Haste move out across the map. And Zerglings, probably not the best units in order to defend this. We have a couple of Ultras added into that as well, up to 8. Now we have that upgrades coming up here too for our air units. But I think the Broodlords are probably not the best decision here. Lots of drones going to be falling off. Zerglings already moving in. The Widow Mines actually fire off onto the drones, so it was... These Lings are going to be able to kind of get back around and do a little bit more damage. Of course, the mineral line is going to be down, and we're going to be seeing lots of workers killed at this point. 43 right now here from Haste, and that's going to kind of even it up a little bit, help the economy. It looks like we're going to be seeing an Ultralisk attack its own hatchery, which is always a little bit of an awkward situation. But back home, we have Zerglings reaching through the third base of our Terran player. Right now, we're seeing both players kind of try to loosen up their economy of the respective opponent. And Earth is going to be able to clean this up over here. It looks like Zerglings are still going to be able to do things back home. Third base is going to be pretty much cleared. They might be able to take out these Thors too, but even so, definitely going to be worth every mineral that they were put into basically building. And speaking of which, how much does it cost to make a biological unit? That's an interesting question. I suppose with Terran you could argue their point that they're being trained, but spawning units That's going to be a cost of minerals. Maybe that's just me. Maybe Zergs are just harnessing those minerals, and that's what the Zerglings are built up. And all biological units in the Zerg army are basically genetically connected to minerals. But who knows? Earth can be moving into the bottom of his base. A little bit of that tangent there. We're going to be seeing any Zerg army move on in here to this bottom of his space, and that's gonna be mass repair. He might be able to hold this off, but he's getting a little low in the minerals department. And ooh, that was 14 Ultralists. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that mineral drop was insane. If you didn't see that, back up a couple of seconds and watch that mineral drop as 14 Ultralists just got spawned out. Oh my gosh, that was beautiful. This base is going to be taken out here. Haste is not able to build much of anything. He doesn't really have the income or the minerals stockpiled up. He has about 160 minerals incoming. And the Zerg army is just going to be able to produce, well, 14 Ultralists all at once. And that's just basically a scary thing. If you see a Zerg player build 14 Ultralists at once, oh my goodness, that was just beautiful. Haste going to be taking over this gold base once again. But the Zerg player looks like he wants to kind of punish that. I think he saw that coming. He must have seen something. Saw something is not right correctly. It looks like he does have vision over it. So he's going to move in with a 14 Ultralisk and pretty much defeat every last little bits of army that Haste has in order to defend this. And this might be pretty much close to it being hit, folks. I mean, I don't think there's a lot that Haste can do to further this cause. Yes, he has the supply depots and he's going to be able to wall off his main base. And yeah, he can float around his buildings a little bit and try to get back into this, but I'm not sure that there's much he can do. Producing basically Widow Mines, which I don't think are the best decision right now. Against Ultros, unsiege siege tanks are actually pretty darn good. So going for siege tank Thor might be a good idea, but he doesn't have the resources in order to continue to build that up. And that's only going to get much more difficult as Earth kills bases, stops production, and pretty much expands himself. I haven't seen him expand all too recently, but I mean, at this point, he can just take every other base on the map and push in, do damage, and basically just finish it all off. So, hopefully, I think that Haste is going to have troubles getting back into this, but maybe he knows something that I don't. After all, he's a Masters player. A couple of good Widow Mine shots are going to be going off into the Ultralists, but really not going to be very cost efficient. And the Ultralists are just going to be able to continue on anyways. Now we're going to be seeing a supply block from Haste, and he's going to have to deal with the units that he has. And honestly, I think Earth is just... the supply difference pretty much tells everything. 140 supply difference right now between these two players, and that's just an awkward position to be in. I really don't think that there's much that Haste can do right now. Yeah, he's going to have a base down here by the gold base. He's going to be able to repair that up. But that doesn't really... at any point, Earth can just kind of move in here, kill the base, and just be perfectly fine with that. A couple of Widow Mines are going to get caught into the... excuse me, those are Hellbats Hellions getting caught in that third base or fourth base, I think, at the goal. But pretty much not able to do anything out of it, which is an unfortunate situation in general. Ooh, I think I had a little bit of another voice crack there. I am on a roll tonight. Alright, folks. Now is the time, as always, that we take a look at what each of these players could have done better so that they and you can learn a little bit for next time. Let's start with our losing player from the Terran player, Haste. I think the big problem we had from Haste, he had a mech army, and mech, I'm not saying mech is a bad composition. In fact, I find it very enjoyable to play, but I think that the big problem from Haste was that when he lost his army, he wasn't able to produce all of it. He was on, I believe, 3 bases at the time, and 3-base economy is just not enough to build up an entire mech army from scratch. And Earth made a little bit of mistakes as far as compositional advantages were concerned, but just was able to kind of pick him apart because he didn't have that production, he didn't have the tech, and I don't even think he didn't have the upgrades until later on in the game. So he had a disadvantage in a lot of the fights that he took, and he took a couple bad fights. That blinding HUD engagement over here by the gold base up here was really bad for him, and he lost a lot of units, and it happens, and I think that that's a big problem, and that engagement was really the big thing that attributed to his loss. On Earth's side of things, I like the creep side, could have been a little bit better. The spending was a little bit lackluster in the middle of the game. That's a little bit difficult when you're on 5-base economy with, I think he had somewhere near 80 to 90 harvesters there. It's a little bit difficult to be able to manage that while also trying to be aggressive and keep up on tech. And it gets to be extremely problematic. But for those of you who are in the lower leagues watching this, when you are on high mineral counts and high gas counts, it's always good to make sure to spend it. And if you're looking to drop down your minerals, you always want to drop down extra macro hatcheries, which will increase your production and make it a lot easier for you to be able to produce, say, 14 ultralists at a time, because you'll have the larvae in order to do so. And you can also drop down, you can just basically produce armies and do things like Ling run-bys that we saw Earth do earlier on in the game, where you just kind of flooded that third base with Lings and got a lot of damage done, a lot of bang for his buck, and it's a pretty decent idea to do that. If you're looking for gas, I know that going for infestors is pretty good for that, and pretty much most of the time as a Zerg player or any players, gas is going to be a little bit harder to come by, and pretty much any tech that you have besides Zerglings, or even to a certain extent Banglings. Banglings cost gas, but they're not like Ultralists. They don't cost a bunch of gas. So pretty much any late game tech is going to cost, is going to be able to bring that down quite significantly. So definitely work on bank a little bit, work on creep spread, and this was a fun game. I really enjoyed seeing a higher level game. I cast a lot of low level play, so it's good to see something on the other end of the spectrum for once. Okay, guys, I think that will be it for this one. Before I go, a few real quick announcements. If you liked this cast, as always, please comment, like, subscribe, and share. If you'd like to get your game cast by me, you can send a replay on over to ZookaMan900@gmail.com, or if you'd like to get a replay casted, and don't mind if it's me, check out the subreddit Casted. It's a good community of casters and castees. I very suggest checking it out. I will add a link to that and to my email in the description below, so you guys can check that on out. And that's pretty much it. Good place to guys sung it to high and back and all that stuff. Alright folks, this will conclude this TVZ or ZVT from the Masters League, I believe. It might have been Diamond. I'm pretty sure it was Masters. It's somewhere around there, and I apologize if I got it wrong. Regardless, this is ZookaMan, folks, and we'll see you on the next cast. Take care, guys.